Okay, so this is possibly going to be the last one today. I am scheduled to be doing a live stream with House of Chatter at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So I'm hoping that goes ahead. Unfortunately, I think Emmy had to cancel last time we had it all planned to do a live stream. But if that changes, then then you won't see me. But hopefully that'll all go ahead. But this will be the last recorded video I do. So I wanted to get away from the violence for a minute because Ryan Reynolds has actually come out to defend the indefensible. Okay, let's just bring this up a bit. Ryan Reynolds reportedly supported Blake amid legal battle. Well, of course he did. So this is from the Daily Mail. Ryan Reynolds is defending his fiery text he sent sticking up for his wife Blake Lively amid her legal battle with Justin Baldoni. Reynolds, 49, messages in which he called Baldoni a dum-dum and a predatory fraudster were recently unsealed as part of Lively's 38 ongoing lawsuit against the Ends With Us director, 42. Yes, Ryan got involved. What husband wouldn't support his wife and the mother of his children, the actor's representative said in a statement to Puck News as part of a report by the publication titled Is Blake Really Unhireable and Can Ryan Escape the Blast Radius? This continues. He saw his wife fighting daily to stand up against sexual harassment in a private and respectful way, only to face retaliation for doing so, the spokesperson added. Okay. Okay. I have thoughts. And you know what? I am actually going to. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna share this. So this is my friend Brett Douglas McDowell. He actually refers to this, this particular message from Ryan Reynolds, and just this kind of this third paragraph. I won't go through the full thing, right? But he says, "This is Ryan Reynolds to I think Patrick Whitesell. I put Blake's reputation on trial any day of the week. She's worked with Oliver fucking Stone and dozens of mercurial and abusive people. In her experience and mine, nobody has ever reached the Empyrean heights of the vile the way Justin Baldoni has." And Brett actually makes it an incredibly good and poignant point. He says, in one of the unsealed exhibits, Ryan Reynolds calls Justin Baldoni Trumpy and says no one in his experience has ever reached the Empyrean high of vile of Justin Baldoni. And I think that completely undermines the credibility of his word. And then he goes on to say, now bearing in mind, Brett was actually, a member of the cast on Deadpool 2 with Ryan Reynolds. He goes to say, buddy, you literally worked under Harvey Weinstein as a producer on Woman in Gold. Both Bryan Singer and Brett Ratner were producers on X-Men Origins Wolverine, Fred Savage, Once Upon a Deadpool. And your old manager was Darren Star. And then he quotes something from the LA Times about Darren Star. Last month, Darren Star, a talent agent at Endeavor, showed up at the DreamWorks lot to meet with the studio's top production executives. When he discovered the execs weren't around, the Scottish agent launched into an obscenity-filled tirade directed at a production executive's assistant. It was so ugly that someone went around closing all the assistants' doors. You could hear this guy in every corner of the building, recalls DreamWorks marketing chief Terry Press. Personally, I think most of the people at Endeavor could use a 3-week sojourn to charm school. And that's still the case, says Press. But this is Hollywood, the only business in the world where people seem to confuse rudeness with power. People think that being rude and demeaning is somehow a show of importance when, to me, it suggests that you're dealing with a lot of spoiled brats whose mummies didn't give them enough timeouts. And as Brett quite rightly points out, no one is accusing Justin of anything like what Darren Stat used to pull. This is pretty much well known at WME, and you know this. And I think he makes why do I do this? I keep forgetting to share it up. So this is the post from Brett. Sorry. I read it, so I won't go through it again. But yeah, I think Brett makes an incredibly good point, right? And I mean, it's talking about the tirade that Darren Stat, Ryan Reynolds' former manager, did at DreamWorks. And let's not remember the 6-hour berating that Todd Black described as nothing he'd ever seen in his life, in his career, sorry. That Ryan Reynolds pulled on Justin Baldoni. But this idiot would have you believe that Justin Baldoni was like the vilest human being to walk the planet. Seriously? Seriously. So Weinstein was, not as bad as Justin Baldoni. Are we really suggesting that? Blake Lively had come out and said that Woody Allen was empowering to women. And this was after the whole thing with his stepdaughter. I mean, it's just bloody ridiculous, honestly. Oh, my God. Let's continue. He saw his wife fighting daily to stand up against sexual harassment in a private and respectful way, only to face retaliation for doing so, the spokesperson added. Right, well, that's bullshit. Haven't seen any evidence of it. He then goes on to say, if anything, Ryan feels like he wasn't angry enough. Really blasted him for 6 hours solid, and that's just in one of the meetings that you went off on him, and you still think that wasn't enough? You mocked him in a fucking movie. You literally created a character to take the piss for an hour and a half globally, and you still think you weren't angry enough? Guy's got issues. Okay, he passionately believes in and will stand up for the basic right to a safe workspace, free of harassment and retaliation for his wife and others. Oh, fucking hell. Then, now, and always, this is the same guy, by the way, who admitted to grabbing Olivia Wilde's naked breasts, even though the cut had already been called and they were no longer filming anything. He also slapped a child, and that was completely unscripted. But sure, let's all, believe his passion that he believes in and will stand up for the basic right to a safe workplace. I mean, we also lost a stunt woman on Deadpool 2 because the workplace was not safe. Okay, the legal count. Sorry, I'm annoyed by this. Oh, I get so annoyed. The legal counterpunch. A spokesperson for Baldoni provided Daily Mail with a statement from his lawyer, Brian Friedman. I always love a Friedman statement, which read, as stated all along and reflected in our client's motions, as well as in messages from Sony discussing Ms. Lively's behaviours, the evidence does not support the claims as a matter of law. A simple read of the newly released message exchanges make the truth abundantly clear. We remain confident in the legal process and clearing the names of all the Justin Baldoni parties. Daily Mail has reached out to representatives for Reynolds and Lively for comment. Meanwhile, a source told Puck News that Reynolds' comments in messages with agent Warren Zavala and executive producer Todd Black and Sony executive Ange Giannetti, whom he called ineffectual elderly people with no ideas or thoughtful communication skills, make him look childish and petulant. The insider added that Reynolds, who reportedly confronted a tearful Baldoni about fat-shaming his wife in 2023, is very protective of his image. It's his worst nightmare to have this stuff exposed. Good. Smear campaigns and slurs. In December of 2024, Lively named Baldoni in a lawsuit accusing him of sexual harassment, retaliatory conduct, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Just to make that very clear, she dropped the intentional infliction of emotional distress claims because she did not want to have to pony up her medical records. Probably, I would be willing to bet everything, but I will say allegedly, either she is that desperate to cling to privacy whilst going through a lawsuit, which I don't believe, or there is no therapy notes or anything that would back up her claims. The actress claims Baldoni sexually harassed her in multiple ways, including body shaming her, and orchestrated a smear campaign to damage her reputation. Baldoni, who has previously accused Lively and Reynolds of using their combined star power to hijack his film, has denied the claims. Lively is seeking more than $160 million in damages, with the trial set for May 2026 in New York. Baldoni's countersuit against Lively and Reynolds, who have been married since 2012 and share 4 children, alleging defamation and extortion, has since been dismissed by the judge, but he can appeal. It Ends With Us earned $148 million in domestic box office and $350 million globally, but whatever goodwill the film garnered has since been overshadowed by the allegations made by its stars. In a series of recently unsealed text messages from the lawsuit, Reynolds lashed out at Dum Dum Baldoni while claiming that his wife was responsible for the box office success of the movie. I mean, it really wasn't. She really wasn't. In one text exchange from July 2024 to a WME executive, Reynolds allegedly referred to Baldoni as a thoroughbred, predatory fraudster and an inexplicably toxic mess. He allegedly added in that text, I'd put Blake's reputation on trial any day of the week. She's worked with dozens of other mercurial and abusive people. In her experience and mine, nobody has ever reached the Empyrean heights of vile the way Justin Baldoni has. His complete lack of not only remorse, but self-preservation is a character study in malignant, lazy, lidded stupidity and darkness, Reynolds reportedly wrote. And do you know what? Brett actually talks about that. And I think this is another post. I'm just looking for it now, which I'm sorry, I do think it's worth sharing. So I'm going to read this. He says the unsealed communications attributed to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively do not reflect moral reasoning so much as instrumental calculation. The emails and texts demonstrate competence in managing narratives and protecting status, but they show no evidence of self-examination, proportional judgment, or concern for the ethical consequences of their actions. Moral reasoning requires the willingness to pause, to reflect, and to ask whether one's conduct is just. What is striking in these records is not what is said, but what is missing. Humility, restraint, and accountability, all of the things that make noble the human spirit. This makes the sociopath accusations they levelled at Justin appear as clear projection. In stark black and white contrast, Justin repeatedly demonstrates moral reflection and accountability, from direct apologies in voice notes, where Brett quotes some of the things he says. I'm far from perfect. I'm a flawed man. Expressing regret for any discomfort, to his role in conflicts and seeking grounded advice. What is described as creepy is not misconduct, but the presence and sometimes over-presence of moral reflection itself. And this was in response to TMZ's news article that Justin Baldoni's dad is proud of his son. I think on his birthday it was. And Brett clearly says, I understand why his father is proud. So, yeah, to say Justin Baldoni of all people has demonstrated a complete lack of remorse is just absolutely wild, because it's not true. That's the one thing actually he's done over and over again. Every time I try to move the page up, it just jumps. Anyway, so we continue. And in a chat with Zavala on August 9th, 2024, around the same time It Ends With Us had a stellar box office debut, the Deadpool star said of Lively, "She willed this weekend into reality. Baldoni and those other buckets of dum-dum juice should be acknowledging the speculation and gossip themselves," Reynolds says. "They should be jumping in front of it in the most full-throated, unqualified way, now." Reynolds complained about the actor, director, and his associates not taking the public hit after initial reports of tension on the film set began to circulate in court documents reviewed by Daily Mail in the litigation between Lively and Baldoni. In the exchange, Reynolds speculated on strategies to shield his wife from bad publicity, stating she should not be subjected to some eye-rolly narrative of the control and there's an expletive, amid early reports of dissension during production. Reynolds and Baldoni and his team Reynolds said Baldoni and his team should be protecting Lively, added they can and should accept the consequences of their actions and lean into the countless and willfully gross behavior before it leans into them. They made a big, expletive mess. Blake, under no circumstances, should be asked to clean up this sloppy, cliched, expletive storm. Reynolds says he was super frustrated because this is a moment in which Blake should be celebrating as she made this unbelievable win happen. She made this a win for Sony and by proxy Wayfarer. Reynolds said that Lively expletive refused to give up on the film as she didn't sleep and missed countless moments with her kids while sitting in editing rooms, scraping and frame expletive dailies for every square inch of quality. The actor said his spouse slammed together a recipe for success despite working with ingredients she wasn't even able to choose. And of course, she wasn't able to choose the ingredients because it wasn't her fucking film. Something that these two seem to keep forgetting. All this while masterminding a world-class marketing and promo plan for a movie that was punching so far above its weight I've lost the scripters to even describe what was happening. It was not a world-class marketing and promo plan. He would say that because Maximum Effort were behind it. But it was the fucking marketing that everyone hated. He just won't admit that. Reynolds said that Baldoni had tension with others involved in the making of the motion picture. I'm not even going to comment on that. Every cast member and crew member, including Colleen, won't be in the same room as the guy, Reynolds wrote. All of them have, at some point over the last 6 months, unfollowed him on social media. Not one person has said Justin's name out loud in any interview at any time. Reynolds was recently torched by fans over the cringe-lengthy email he wrote to It Ends With Us author Colleen Hoover, which was also among the newly unsealed exhibits in the case. He seemingly mocked Baldoni, writing, "I heard you guys got a tummy bug and you're stuck in New York. I can't think of anything worse, although it might be your body ridding itself of any residual Baldoni." This guy disgusts me. I'd rather be puking in a gulag than hijacking performative feminism while practicing personal growth catchphrases in the mirror, he added. I will say, a lot of people have said, what the fuck is a gulag, right? So gulag is like a, oh God, it's like a really awful prison, basically. Similar to the American Guantanamo Bay, I guess. That's probably the closest comparator, but in sub-zero temperatures, like, because it's in kind of around Siberia, that kind of, freezing cold. You don't want to be there. Fans were confused by Reynolds' close involvement in the film and the lengthy email, with many calling it cringe and egotistical. Hollywood's glossiest names have been dragged into the It Ends With Us fallout. In unsealed text from Lively to her famous pal Taylor Swift, the actress allegedly called Baldoni a doofus, while Swift reportedly referred to him as an expletive. Lively also appeared to have asked Ben Affleck for assistance in her feud with Baldoni during the making of It Ends With Us. The newly released court documents also contain messages Lively and her husband Reynolds allegedly sent Affleck's best friend Matt Damon and his wife Luciana Barroso, lambasting Baldoni for his enormous ego. Are we fucking joking? Baldoni has a big ego. Baldoni previously accused Lively and Reynolds of using their star power to smear him and hijack the domestic abuse movie, with Lively muscling in on production despite allegedly failing to read the book until filming was well underway. The hijack allegedly went as far as relegating Baldoni and his family to the basement after arriving on the red carpet for the movie's premiere on August 6, 2024, because Lively demanded he not attend. This is a case about two of the most powerful stars in the world deploying their enormous power to steal an entire film right out of the hands of its director and production studio, Baldoni's lawyers previously claimed. Then, when Lively and Reynolds' efforts failed to win them the acclaim they believed they so richly deserved, they turned their fury on their chosen scapegoat. Okay, so that is the response to Ryan Reynolds is not happy with his text being out there, but he's standing by them. And wow, what husband wouldn't, defend his wife and the mother of his children? Which is a fair argument, but again, he didn't really say that much about sexual harassment. If asking your wife how much she weighs is sexual harassment, then these people don't even understand the concept of real world issues. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. But I mean, I love the fact that the Daily Mail in particular keeps coming back to she didn't read the book, and just smacking her over the head with the proverbial book. So yeah. All right, guys, take care.